You know that odd feeling you get when a memory doesn't sit right, when something from your past seems just a bit off, like a dream you're not sure you actually had. That's what happened to me the week after my father died. My name is Daniel McCormick. I'm 43, divorced, and living alone in a modest house in the hills of Oregon. My father, Harold McCormick, passed away last November, massive heart attack in his sleep. Peaceful, they said. That's not what haunted me. What haunted me was what came after. The first strange thing happened during the funeral. As I stood next to his coffin, I heard a voice, deep, cold, and strangely familiar, whisper my name. I looked around, but no one was near me. Everyone was weeping quietly, their heads bowed. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination or the stress, but something in my gut knew better. I'd been estranged from my father for almost 20 years. We hadn't spoken since the night I left home, and the memories of that night, they have always felt incomplete, like pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to finish. A week after the funeral, I returned to his old house to sort through his belongings. It was a 2-story cabin tucked into the woods. I hadn't stepped foot inside since I was 18. Nothing had changed. The same green velvet curtains, the same cracked leather armchair by the fireplace, and the same smell, a mix of cedar and pipe smoke. Nostalgia hit me hard, but beneath it, something else stirred. An unease I couldn't shake. I started in the study, boxes of yellowed papers, half-burned candles, and a locked drawer in his old desk. The key was taped beneath the desk drawer, exactly where he used to hide it. I opened it, expecting to find bank documents or maybe some dusty revolver, but instead, I found a single cassette tape labeled Daniel, 1998. My heart sank. That was the year I left. That was the night. I drove home and dusted off my old tape player. As the tape whirred to life, my father's voice crackled through. If you're listening to this, it means I'm gone. And there's something I never told you. I paused the tape, goosebumps crawling up my arms. His tone was flat but urgent. I resumed. You always wondered why your mother left. She didn't. She was taken. And I've spent the last 25 years trying to keep them from coming for you too. I stopped breathing. My mother died in a car accident when I was 5, or so I was told. My entire world shifted in that moment. My father's voice continued, now barely above a whisper. They follow bloodlines, Danny. They move through shadows. They watch. And if you're not careful, they will wear your face before you even know they're close. That night I couldn't sleep. Every shadow seemed to stretch too far. Every creak of the house felt deliberate. Around 2 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy. I froze in bed, heart pounding like a drum. I knew I was alone. I live alone. But those steps, they were unmistakable. Then the door to my room creaked open just a hair. Danny, my father's voice. Clear, as if he were standing right there. I jumped out of bed and flipped on the lights. Nothing. Empty hallway. No one there. But the air smelled like smoke. Pipe smoke. My legs buckled and I dropped to the floor, trying to convince myself it was stress, grief, exhaustion, anything but what it felt like, that my dead father had just spoken to me. I went back to his house the next day. I needed answers. I searched every drawer, every shelf, and eventually I found it. A hidden door behind a bookcase in the basement. The hinges were rusted, but I forced it open. Inside was a narrow stairwell leading down to what looked like an underground room. It was cold, damp, lit only by flickering candles in old iron sconces. At the center of the room was a circle of salt, and in the middle of that, my childhood drawings, pages I hadn't seen in years. Each one depicted the same thing: a tall figure, dressed like my father, but with a face like melted wax. No eyes, just pits of shadow. The figure stood in a forest, always watching, always behind me. The walls were covered with scribbled warnings. Don't trust the mirror, he wears him. Blood calls blood. My hands trembled. These weren't drawings I remembered making, but they were mine. My name was on each one. That night, back at my place, I heard the tape again, but I hadn't pressed play. The tape player was off, unplugged. Still, his voice filled the room. He's close now, Danny. Don't let him in. Don't believe him. Then silence. I grabbed a baseball bat and searched the house. In the bathroom mirror, something moved behind me. I turned quickly. Nothing there, but my reflection lingered. It didn't move like I did. It blinked slower, smiled wider. I shattered the mirror. I couldn't think straight. The walls felt too close. I drove aimlessly for hours, ending up at a diner just outside of town. As I sat sipping coffee, an old man walked in and froze when he saw me. "Harold," he muttered, You're supposed to be dead." I grabbed his arm. "You knew my father." He stared into my eyes, trembling. "You look just like him, but something's wrong. Your eyes, they're darker." I demanded answers. He told me stories, rumors about Harold McCormick, that he'd been part of some ritual group in the 70s, obsessed with something called the Echoed Man, a shadow creature that mimics fathers, invades bloodlines, takes their place, a being that slowly becomes them until no one can tell the difference. He warned me, if he marked your blood, he's already in you. You need to end it before it's too late. Back at the cabin, I doused the basement in gasoline and set it alight. Flames roared, consuming the hidden room and everything in it. I thought it was over. I truly did. But as I watched the fire burn, I saw him, my father, standing at the edge of the trees, just watching. His face blank, melted, shifting. Then he raised a hand and pointed at me. I screamed and ran to my truck, but when I looked in the rearview mirror, it wasn't my face looking back, it was his. It was a bitterly cold December night, the wind howling mournfully as if grieving a loss. Inside, the fireplace flickered, barely illuminating the shadows that danced ominously on the walls. Samuel sat in the dimly lit room, clutching a faded photograph with trembling fingers. The picture depicted his father, captured decades ago. Samuel's eyes fixated on the haunting gaze, dark, piercing, and forever distant, sending chills down his spine. Samuel hadn't seen his father since that horrifying night 20 years earlier. Officially declared missing, everyone presumed him dead, but Samuel knew a darker, more sinister truth. Memories he desperately buried resurfaced tonight, creeping up his spine like icy fingers whispering an unspeakable dread. Samuel's sleep was fractured, plagued by twisted nightmares, his father's spectral form looming silently at his bedside, eyes hollow, lips muttering unintelligible horrors, awakening in terror, drenched in sweat. His heart thundered with panic. Unlike previous dreams, Tonight's apparition felt disturbingly tangible, a ghostly presence signaling a dreadful return. As dawn broke reluctantly, Samuel ventured into town to escape the haunting visions. The townsfolk murmured as he passed, their wary eyes shadowed by suspicion. The whispers trailed behind him like restless spirits. Approaching the town's old well, Samuel halted abruptly. A figure stood motionless, clothed in familiar attire, unmistakably his father. Paralyzed by fear, Samuel watched as the apparition dissolved into thin air, leaving an oppressive silence that pressed heavily upon him. Driven by a compulsion he couldn't resist, Samuel rifled through his father's abandoned possessions stored within the attic. Dust and cobwebs filled the air, suffocating his senses as he unearthed old boxes, clothes, and diaries long forgotten. Hours blurred into frantic searching until he discovered a locked wooden chest at the attic's furthest corner. His heart pounded violently as he broke the lock open, revealing letters drenched in malevolence, notes filled with cryptic passages about hidden rituals and dark forces beneath the family's home. As Samuel read through them, nausea rose in his throat, understanding the horrifying truth. His father had deliberately embraced something unspeakably evil. Days passed in torturous anxiety, Samuel tormented by eerie whispers emanating from the walls, growing louder each night. They echoed his father's sinister voice, murmuring the horrific incantations recorded in the letters, urging him toward an unknown abyss. During a fierce midnight storm, Samuel followed the insistent whispers down to the basement. The air thickened unbearably as the walls seemed to pulse around him, alive with dread. In the dim shadows, a previously unseen door emerged, beckoning him forward. With trembling hands, Samuel opened the door, stepping into the suffocating darkness. The hidden chamber revealed itself under the pale glow of candles burning with unnatural intensity. Grotesque symbols covered the walls, pulsating with a malevolent energy that made Samuel's skin crawl. At the room's center stood his father, seemingly untouched by time, his eyes burning with otherworldly light. "Welcome home, Samuel," he whispered, voice echoing sinisterly. "What have you done?" Samuel choked, backing away. His father's ghostly hand stretched forward, beckoning ominously. "Join me. Embrace the power that is your birthright." Invisible forces seized Samuel, dragging him toward his father's spectral form. Terror surged within him as the room's symbols flared angrily. Fighting desperately, he broke free and stumbled backward, barricading the door with a wooden beam, sealing the horror within. Samuel fled into the storm, the wind shrieking around him as he stumbled blindly through the forest. Twisted branches grasped like skeletal hands, the shadows moving as if alive, following his frantic escape. Breathing heavily, he paused briefly, only to hear a chilling whisper carried by the wind. His father's voice urging his return. He ran harder, fear fueling every desperate step until he reached a clearing marked by ancient stones. The ground beneath seemed cursed, radiating an evil presence. Suddenly, spectral forms emerged, their faces twisted in anguish, echoing his father's chilling words. Samuel felt trapped, surrounded by phantoms of the past. Driven by desperation, Samuel returned to the family house, determined to end this nightmare. He descended to the basement once more, wielding a heavy axe. Breaking through the barricaded door, he confronted his father's form, now distorted and monstrous. "You cannot escape, Samuel," the creature hissed, eyes blazing with hatred. "This ends now." Samuel shouted defiantly, swinging the axe at the grotesque apparition. With a final, horrifying scream, his father vanished, leaving only darkness and silence behind. Samuel abandoned the house permanently, moving far away. Yet peace eluded him. He continued to sense the chilling presence of his father, whispering from shadows, forever reminding him of the horrors he'd narrowly escaped. Each night as darkness fell, Samuel wondered if the evil he'd locked away was truly gone, or merely waiting patiently for another chance to reclaim its hold. John's father had always been an enigmatic figure, an imposing presence who ruled their small family with an iron fist wrapped in velvet. Even now, as a grown man in his late 40s, John felt the weight of that presence, a shadow from which he could never escape. When the call came that his father had suddenly passed away, John's first reaction was neither grief nor relief, only a profound unease. The drive to his childhood home was unbearably silent, save for the rhythmic drumming of rain on his car's roof. Approaching the old house, a chill crawled down his spine. The 2-story wooden building looked decrepit and haunting, just as he remembered. Windows stared out like blind eyes, curtains fluttering softly as though beckoning him inside. Inside, the scent of dust and mold lingered heavily, a testament to the years of neglect. Memories surged violently back to life. The kitchen where his father had often brooded silently, the living room filled with bitter arguments, and that dreadful locked basement door, always forbidden, always feared. "Welcome home," whispered a voice he could swear belonged to his father, startling him nearly to death. John spun around, his heart hammering in his chest, only to find the room empty. He tried to laugh off his nerves, but the echo of his father's voice still clung eerily to his ears. He reluctantly climbed the creaking staircase toward his father's bedroom, his every step a fight against the overwhelming urge to flee. The bedroom was untouched, frozen in time. The old man's bed, neatly made, his clothes meticulously arranged, and in the corner, a dusty wooden box John had never seen before. John knelt, opening the box slowly. Inside were photographs, faces he didn't recognize, places he'd never seen. Beneath them, a smaller, darker box rested. Curiosity overwhelming his caution, he lifted the lid and felt his blood freeze. A pair of old rusted keys lay on a velvet lining. The basement keys. "Why now, father?" he whispered, but the silence offered no answers, only the pressing darkness that emanated from the keys. He felt compelled to go, as though invisible strings were pulling him inexorably toward the basement. Descending the stairs, John clutched the keys tightly. His breath came short, heavy with apprehension. At the basement door, he hesitated, the echo of old threats ringing sharply in his ears. But defiance stirred within him. With trembling hands, he unlocked the door. The basement was pitch black, the air thick and stagnant. His flashlight barely pierced the darkness. Each step deeper into the unknown made the silence heavier, almost tangible. His flashlight flickered, nearly dying, but managed to reveal something shocking. Chains bolted to the wall, old and rusted, stained with what appeared to be dried blood. John gasped, stepping back only to collide with a table, knocking items to the ground. The clatter echoed painfully in the stillness, making him jump. On the floor lay journals, pages yellowed and fragile. Opening one cautiously, he found his father's handwriting, frantic and fearful, describing something monstrous, uncontrollable. Suddenly, from the darkness, a soft, shuffling noise emerged, accompanied by labored breathing. John spun his flashlight, revealing a silhouette crouched in the corner. His heart stopped. A skeletal figure, eyes glinting eerily, reached out its emaciated arms toward him. "John," the creature rasped. Its voice, distorted yet hauntingly familiar, clawed at his sanity. "He kept me here to protect you." John stumbled back, horror and disbelief crashing over him. "Who? What are you?" "Your brother," it whispered painfully. "He feared my sickness would consume you too, but now he's gone, and I..." Hunger. The figure lunged, chains rattling violently. John scrambled up the stairs, heart pounding painfully in his chest. Reaching the top, he slammed the basement door shut, locking it swiftly. His mind raced. Father's secrecy, the lost brother he never knew, the terror hidden beneath his childhood home. He collapsed to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. The dark truth, now his alone. The shadow his father left behind had become his to bear, a legacy that would haunt him forever.